I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're diving into Can You or Can You Not Sail Under the Command of a Pirate? It's written by a remarkable author by the name of Marty Corcoran. This isn't just another spiritual guide, it's a groundbreaking exploration that challenges conventional views of Jesus, presenting him as an ever-present force in our lives. Discover how to break free from the constraints of traditional religious narratives and truly connect with something extraordinary. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Bookside Press for helping us put Marty in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support writers like her by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing her amazing book. The links are below this interview. Marty, great to see you here today on Spotlight.
It's good to see you too, Logan.
Such an intriguing title, of course. Can you or can you not sail under the command of a pirate? So let's unpack that a little bit for the folks at home, what you mean by that.
Yes, well, in this case in the book, the pirate happens to be Jesus, but you wouldn't guess that from the title.
Yeah.
And so I picked that because it would intrigue and hit home with everybody, not just Christians or not just, a certain group, but I wanted to open it up so everybody may be interested.
How is Jesus a pirate?
Well, pirates, when they first started, they get a bad rap, and now it's changed. But when they first started, all the pirates, before they became pirates, had been gang pressed by the British to work on their ships. And every salary they paid them, they then took it back to pay for the uniforms that they had to wear. And depending on the captain's personality of the day, I mean, you could be keyhauled under a ship if you did just a minor infringement. So they never knew from one time to the other. And of course, they're there against their will. Many of them had been with families, many of them had established families, and then they go into the bar, they get gang pressed, and the next thing when they wake up, they're on the ship.
Wow. Tell us how this metaphor helps us understand our relationship with Jesus in a modern context.
Well, what I'm trying to do here, and I think I explain it in the book, is Jack Sparrow is a common character known by most people in the world. It was one of Disney's most brought in the most money for a long time. And so he's almost become a family name, and not just in America, but everywhere. And I picked him for two reasons. One, because he is known, and two, because he's the least character you would compare to Jesus when you think about it on the surface. And by unpacking the book, I think what the message is everybody has a story, just like you do, Logan.
Absolutely. Can you share? What's that? I'm sorry?
We all have a story.
Yeah, everybody's got a story for sure. Can you share a personal experience that illustrates how Jesus moves through all of our lives?
I can. One of the personal experiences I've had is that for a whole year, I was asking Jesus, please let me feel your presence, and this is a journey, by the way. This doesn't just magically start and in a day everything changes. I've been working on growth since 40 years ago. That's when we started. And so, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked from
No,
the
we're
question.
saying a story that illustrates that Jesus moves through all of our lives.
Yes. So he cares about the most minute detail. There was once a book written about 5 love languages, and then it said, you speak the language of love, either in words of affirmation, gifts, touch, and quality time. And there's one other, service, acts of service.
Right.
So those are the 5 love languages. Well, what I have found is once you identify your love language, Jesus will speak to you in your love language. So my love languages were acts of service and touch. So working on it for a whole year, asking to be known from his presence, I found out that he was doing acts of service for me all the time. I would call those miracles, even as small as praying for a parking space in a parking lot.
Mhm.
And there it would be, suddenly there would be a parking space.
Yeah.
Or when you relate to people, help me keep my mind open and let me understand what the person is telling me in their story. And touch, there are times when I physically can feel his hand on my shoulder, and that assures me that he's there constantly.
Yeah. He's an omnipresent figure in our lives. He's
Yeah,
always there with us, always giving us messages. We just have to have open ears, open hearts, open minds, right?
right.
Yeah.
And he cares. He honestly cares about you. He created you with a purpose.
Mhm.
He created you with gifts and talents. And his will is to help you develop what he created you for. And he will bring opportunity into your life if you learn how to trust him. But that's the hard part. You have to learn how to trust.
Yeah.
And coming from an alcoholic family myself, one of the things you never did was trust. You didn't talk, you didn't trust, you didn't touch.
Yeah.
And that's a pattern. And ironically, I didn't know I was coming from a dysfunctional family.
Right.
But
It's all we know. If we grow up in dysfunction, it's all we know. So it doesn't seem like it's anything out of the ordinary. That's for sure. In your book, you discuss tapping into Jesus's presence. Can you give us some practical advice or tips on how to start tapping into Jesus's presence?
well, one of the first things I do is find your love language. Which one of the five is your love language? If it's words of affirmation, sometimes reading devotionals or reading the Bible or any book about spirituality will be words of affirmation. God uses people. Some people think, oh, he'll magically appear, but he uses people to reach you. People, prayer, experiences, all of those things he will bring your way to help you grow in the person he wants you to grow.
Absolutely. What do you hope readers take away from your book?
Well, I hope that they can take away that Jesus isn't a figure in a Bible put away. He died, now he's up in heaven, and you won't know until you died to see him. But I don't think that's true.
Hmm.
I think he walks this earth, and I think he's right there present. So I'm hoping that by reading the book and looking at the things we say in the book, they can actually begin to trust that he's there with them. And one of the reasons that I wrote the book is my biggest pet peeve is when people look at somebody and label them immediately. And then everything they have associated with that label is who they think the person is.
Yeah.
And like with Jack Sparrow, the first 5 minutes of the movie, most people said he was a drunk, he was gay, he was a thief, a liar, because all of those things happened, but they never looked into his story.
Right.
And when I looked into his story, reading Rob Kidd's tales of his childhood, it gave such insight. And then when I studied the history of pirates, it even gave more insight. So I would say the best way is to listen to somebody's story and don't agree with them, don't disagree with them, just be present and let them tell you their story and try to have empathy for them. Because that's the
Absolutely.
only way you're going to get started.
Great advice. Before we leave you today, let me ask you, what do you think the biggest misconception people have about Jesus based on your observations?
Mostly, I think it's him not being present. I think the misconception is he's in heaven. I mean, there are some people who believe it was a spiritual body that was raised from the dead, and others believe that his entire body was physically raised from the dead. And if you look at history, like the historian Josephus, he documents, and he's not documenting in a Bible, he's documenting historical facts that after his death, he was seen by numerous people for 40 days.
Absolutely. Great words of advice, great meaning within the pages of this book. It's going to help a lot of folks for sure. It is called Can You or Can You Not Sail Under the Command of a Pirate? It's written by Marty Corcoran, and it is an amazing book. It's not just another spiritual guide. It's a groundbreaking exploration that challenges conventional views of the Lord Jesus Christ, presenting him as an ever-present force in all of our lives. Marty, thank you so much for joining us here today in Spotlight.
You're most welcome. I enjoyed the time with you.
I enjoyed speaking with you as well. And to the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.